You guys, I just did this whole recording and then hit delete instead of stop recording. And so I have to do it again. Lesson 14. We're still working with trig, but we're going to change gears here a little bit. We've just been working with trig with any right triangle, and now we're going to stick to some very specific ones. You've used your triangle to find missing sides, to find missing angles, and now we're going to evaluate trig functions. We're going to get exact answers. So that means no decimals. And we can only do this for some very specific angles. So there are two right triangles that normally we would spend a day or two kind of going over and reviewing, but we don't have that luxury this year. So we're just going to have to hop right in and use them. The first one is a 45, 45, 90, which means that the angle measures are 45 degrees, and 90 degrees. For the rest of, not the rest, but for the next several lessons, the hypotenuse is always going to be 1, and we'll talk a little bit more about why later. So if the hypotenuse is 1, and I used Pythagorean theorem to solve for these two sides, they would be equal because the angles are equal, and they would both be root 2 over 2. The other special triangle is 30, 60, 90. So that means that the angles are 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90. Again, the hypotenuse is 1, and the two sides come out to be a half and root 3 over 2. So you need those triangles. You have to have those two triangles to do any of this. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller here so you can see. So we are going to use those two special triangles to find exact values of the trig functions. There's a tiny bit of trig in this, and it is most of this assignment is simplifying, rationalizing, dividing fractions. So that tends to actually be the toughest part for people. So we're going to start with sine 45. So pick one of the 45s. It doesn't matter. Sine is opposite, which is root 2 over 2. Divided by hypotenuse is 1. Dividing by 1 doesn't change anything, so that's just root 2 over 2. Next one is cosine of 30. So we're going to use the 30-degree angle. Cosine is adjacent, so root 3 over 2. Divided by hypotenuse is 1. Again, dividing by 1 doesn't do anything, so you just get root 3 over 2. Tangent of 60. So now we're going to use this 60 degree up here. Tangent is opposite, root 3 over 2. Divided by adjacent is 1/2. So I'm not sure the last time you divided fractions, and it tends to be kind of a struggle to do. So when we're dividing fractions, we're dividing root 3 over 2 by 1/2. To divide fractions, you keep the top fraction, you keep the numerator, and you change it into a multiplication. You multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom. So that means flip the bottom. So it'll become 2 over 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I just have 1 root 3 over 1, or just root 3. A couple more. Cosecant of 60. So again, we're at 60 up here. Cosecant is the hypotenuse, which is 1, divided by opposite, which is root 3 over 2. So we're dividing fractions again. Keep the numerator, multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So flip the bottom. This one has an extra step because we can't leave a square root in the denominator. We have to rationalize, which means that we multiply by that radical. Whatever that root is that we're not allowed to have, we have to multiply by top and bottom. So I get 2 times square root 3 divided by 3 times 3 is 9. If they're in the square roots, square root of 9 is 3. And then you would have to check to see if you can reduce this, which you cannot on this one. Secant of 45. So I use the 45. Secant is hypotenuse, 1, divided by adjacent is root 2 over 2. So keep the numerator, multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator, which is 2 over root 2. We have to rationalize. So we get 1 times 2 is 2 times root 2 over square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. And now this one we actually can reduce because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we just get 1 root 2. And our last one here is cotangent of 30. So here's 30. Cotangent is adjacent divided by opposite. So we're going to keep the root 3 over 2 and multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2 over 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I get root 3. Okay. All of those angles were between 0 and 90. The only 3 angles, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees. Those are the only angles that this process works for. Excuse me. However, we're going to extend it a little bit now. So we're going to do this with angles that are over 90, that are negative. And so I wrote out the steps for you. So you're going to sketch the angle, find the reference angle. That was from lesson 13. You're going to draw the right triangle, label the sides, and we have to find the signs. So as in positive and negative, decide if those sides are positive or negative. And then we can evaluate the function using the actual trig function. Okay. So step 1 is to draw the angle. So negative means we're going to go down. There's 90. 180 would be all the way here. So 120 is like right there. Draw the triangle. Draw the reference triangle. I think I'm sitting sideways. Here, I'm going to adjust my thing. That's still terrible. I don't know. Okay. So if this is 120, right, this part is negative 120. All the way to the axis would be 180. So from 120 to 180, that makes this a 60-degree angle in here. So you're going to look up at the top where I drew those 2 triangles, and you need to take those sides and put them onto here. So the hypotenuse is always 1. The side across from 60 is root 3 over 2. And the third side is 1/2. So those just come from that 30, 60, 90 triangle in the top of your notes. We also have to decide if those sides are positive or negative. So we're putting this on a graph, on an XY graph. This side is 1/2, this side right here. Since it goes to the left of 0, that's negative. Root 3 over 2 is this side. It is going down, right? So if we go down, that is also negative. So all of that just got us set up, and now we do the sign. So sine of, it's always this angle that's up here at the origin. So it'll be this 60 degrees. Sine is opposite, negative root 3 over 2, divided by hypotenuse is 1. So that's just negative root 3 over 2. So we're still using those 2 triangles. It just, you have to find the reference angle to decide which of the triangles to use. Second one is cosine of 240. So if I graph 240, there's 90, there's 180, got to keep going. 240 would be down here. So here's 180. 180 to 240 is 60. That's the same one as this, so I'm not going to draw it again. It's the exact same picture. I'm just going to use this and save ourselves some time. Cosine is adjacent, is negative 1/2, divided by hypotenuse is 1. So negative 1/2 over 1 is negative 1/2. Tangent of 315. So 90, 180, 270, 315 is over here. 315 to all the way around is 360. 360 minus 315 is 45. So this one's a 45, 45. The hypotenuse is 1. The two sides are root 2 over 2. And then let's decide on their signs. This side right here from the origin goes to the right, so that's positive. This one goes down under the axis, so that side is negative. Tangent is opposite, so it's always from the origin, from this angle up here at the origin. Opposite is negative root 2 over 2, divided by adjacent is root 2 over 2. You are dividing something by itself. Anything divided by itself is 1. 1 is negative, 1 is positive, so negative divided by a positive is negative. You could go through simplifying and flipping and all that, but this would be a good place for you to pause and see how you do. There's 3 left. So we've done 3 of them, and there are 3 left. See, can you draw it? Can you set up the triangles? Where do you get stuck? What do we need to get you more help on? Okay, so negative 330. So we're going to go in a negative direction. There's negative 90, 180, 270. 330 would be up here. 330 to 360 is 30 degrees. So this one's going to be a 30-degree reference angle. Hypotenuse is 1. The side across from 30 is 1/2. The third side is root 3 over 2. This side is positive because from the origin it goes to the right. Right is positive. This side is also positive because it goes up. Up is positive. So cosecant is hypotenuse divided by opposite. So do 1 times reciprocal 2 over 1. 1 times 2 is 2, divided by 1 is 2. $135 is right there. 135 to 180 is 45 degrees. So we're going to label our sides. Figure out if they're positive or negative. This side goes to the left. Left of the origin is negative. This side goes up. Up is positive. So secant is hypotenuse divided by adjacent. So we keep the top, multiply by a reciprocal of the denominator. So we need to rationalize it. Multiply by root 2 over 2. So I get 1 times negative 2 is negative 2 root 2 over 2 times 2 is 4 in a radical. So square root of 4 is 2. And then we can reduce 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I get negative 1 root 2. Okay, one more. Cotangent of negative 30. So I'm going to go down 30. So that just is the reference angle is 30. Hypotenuse is 1. Across from 30 is 1/2. And because that side goes down, it's negative. And then third side is root 3 over 2. Cotangent is adjacent divided by opposite. So we keep the top and multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I get negative 1 root 3 divided by 1. There's a lot of referring back to things, right? Referring back to SOHCAHTOA and the 6 trig functions, referring back to the special right triangles. The more you can memorize, the faster this will go for you. There's a lot of steps. There's a lot to do. But like I said, if you know sine and cosine without having to go look them up every time, or you can at least like write SOHCAHTOA really quick, it will help you. The more you can start to kind of memorize the sides of the 2 triangles, the faster this will all go for you. Also, we're going to have a day in class to just practice this because I know it's tough. So we're going to have a full day just to practice, go over them together.